follow up. Welcome to our Flowcode Analytics webinar. I am joined by my co-host, Brendan, who is a product manager here at Flowcode. He is the data wizard, so he'll be able to answer any and all questions that you have. And of course, as they come up, put them in the Q&A box so that we can address them all at the end. My name's Corinne. I'm the customer engagement manager here at Flowcode. So trying to help you get the most out of the platform and answer any of those questions as well. We'll be going through a bunch of FAQs at the beginning just to give you a sense of how other people are asking questions and address some of those if you have them as well. Then we'll go through a walkthrough of the Flowcode Analytics to show you our real-time data and our reports capabilities. And then Brendan will walk through how you can leverage that data in campaigns. And then at the end, of course, we'll do a Q&A. But as we're walking through, put any questions in that Q&A box throughout. So first, your questions answered. What data points are captured in real-time analytics? So we get things like time, location, device, and browser type. Those obviously are dependent on the type of plan you have, but everyone gets the amount of scans and the date that those scans come in. And you're able to see those engagements by scan, page view, link clicks, and even conversion events, which Brendan can touch on. But our real-time or native analytics gets all of that information exactly as it says in real time. So you're able to see that interaction and engagement happening by the second. And then you're also able to see if you're using different unique codes on things, you're able to see what marketing ad or advertisements are performing the best so that you can attribute it to return on invest or can attribute it to your spend and calculate that ROI. Next, what data points are captured in reports? The reports are just an aggregate of your data. It does have a little lag, so you can analyze your campaigns post-campaign event, but essentially this gives you all the insights that your real-time analytics does, but it gives you trending summaries day over date, week over week, and then you can also schedule these reports. And as it says here, that functionality is also going to be available in our real-time analytics in July of 2023. So we're really moving a lot of those capabilities into the native platform. Very exciting, just so you can see those reports, have them sent to your email, send them to a colleague, however you want to export that data. Who has access to the data and how can they view different data sets? So codes and page data can be viewed by the owner of those assets or anyone the asset's shared with. So if you have an organization set up in flowcode.com, you're able to share it with, let's say, Brendan has an account in our organization. I can share the asset with him and he's able to see the data of that code or that page. And data can also be organized into things like tags, which if you're not sure about, we'll go into in the platform walkthrough, folders, teams, and then other comprehensive campaign views. How can I get enriched data? So things like geolocation can be switched on at the code level, so your audience can opt into and share their more precise geolocation. It will unlock data based on latitude, longitude, city, state, and then even zip code level. If they don't opt into that, we still get their IP address. So it gets you a decently good geolocation perspective, but this often allows for an even more granular look at that. And then how can we integrate or ingest the data? So we released recently an analytics API, which allows you to have access to that data in your own custom reporting. And we can go into that a little bit later. But again, really just the first real-time analytics for attribution. And I don't know if you want to speak on this at all, but.
No, yeah, that was good. Some really good important questions to go over. And yeah, this is an overview of our analytics platform, which will help for any of your campaigns understand in real time your exposure in the offline world and then downstream conversions that happen. And so as you can see on this on the slide here, we are collecting the data points Corinne mentioned earlier, distributing that real time, and then you can ingest that data either via the API or you can access it in the platform or via CSV. And I'm excited to get into how we can optimize some of those campaigns later in the session.
Great. And then do you want to touch on Flowlytics API? Very exciting.
Yes. So as Corinne mentioned, we recently released our developer portal, which allows every single Flowcode user to access our data and the ability to create and manage assets via an API. So if you're building applications maybe elsewhere, not on the Flowcode infrastructure, you can hook up an API connection and pull the data on a daily, weekly, monthly, whenever you need it basis. This is great. So we have clients like, who are running like events, and during the events, they have every single staffer checking their cellular devices for API hits that are saying, hey, someone scanned, let's go check and see and go follow up on this new lead. So this is a super exciting new feature that's now available to everyone on the Flowcode platform.
Love it. And now we can go through a platform walkthrough. Again, we'll be showing you those real-time analytics views and then also the reporting capabilities as well. Just making sure that I have the right thing pulled up. Sharing screen is always tough. Share this. So here's the dashboard. This is the whole overview of all my codes. You can get into analytics in a few ways. This might look different for you because we're rolling out a new and improved dashboard look, but it all should be very similar. So if you go into each of those codes, you can get into folder analytics, which you'll be able to see all the scans through the entire folder. I have 3 codes in here. You can also see the codes on a more individual level by clicking on that view full analytics, but I'm just gonna go into the left-hand navigation and show you the flow code and the flow page analytics through there. So if I click on flow code here, it automatically populates to the last 30 days. So you're able to see those scans. Again, this is real time. So today you'll see I have 6 scans, but you can see those coming in if you have active flow codes out in the world. You can also choose the different timelines if you have certain campaigns that you want to analyze. So you can say the time frame is today, the last week, the last month, the last quarter, the last year, all time, or even select custom date ranges, which are great for, again, analyzing those campaigns. The view org data toggle will just show you codes that have been shared with you from other members in your organization versus your own codes, which I'm just seeing right now. And then you can also export these in a CSV or a PDF file. And that's great if you want to share it with other teammates or even any partners that you might have who don't have access to the platform. We also added in this filters capability recently, which is very exciting. Again, this allows you to look at your codes on a more campaign or granular level. So you'll see that you can choose the name of your codes. It also gives you a little preview of what those codes look like. If you forget for some reason, you'll also able to look at the folders. So you can see I can select my analytics folder. So it pulls just that data and I can look over time at the specific code. So you can see the top performing codes. I have each of their names here. So you can name them by campaign, see their scans all time, and then also analyze it per period. It also gives you those top performing tags, and tags are things that you can add to the code that no one else will see. So you can understand maybe what mediums you're using.
I think tags is great if you're managing a bunch of campaigns over time and you end up with hundreds of codes. Tags is extremely helpful for searchability. So if you're trying to group different campaigns by different types, downstream tags can help with searching and finding codes of different collections. I think UTMs can also be used in conjunction with tags to define where the code is and help with those downstream segmentation analytics. Yeah.
And for those who might not be aware, UTMs are urchin tracking modules, correct?
That sounds great to me.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. So it's essentially a string in a URL of a website that allows you to determine the source, the refer, and where people are coming from. So you know, all right, this code that was placed in our out of home campaign is driving traffic here. And that's where you're able to calculate that attribution, correct?
Yep. And
Yeah.
if you flip the flow page, you can actually visualize.
Yeah, exactly. So we can get into Flowpage, and it does give you a breakdown, very similar again of that engagement. I'll show you the org data because it has a little bit more information, but it shows you page views, contacts collected, link clicks. Again, very similar engagement, but it just breaks it down by page views, link clicks, as mentioned, top performing links, similar to top performing codes, tags again. And then here is that UTM traffic. So you can see where people are coming from. Again, flow page data is limited here right now, but you're able to see in essence where that source and where people are coming from. A lot of people are coming to my flow pages directly. So that means I'm just sending them out without any UTMs. But you can see also here, there's another term that might have been used in one of our emails. So again, it really gives you more insights as to the source of them.
One thing that I think is super cool about Flow Page, if you scroll to the top.
Mhm.
So if you're using Flow Page to capture contacts, you can see in a quick glance how many contacts were collected.
Mhm.
So this is showing end-to-end conversion reporting for your flow codes. So you're able to see if you have flow codes in the wild, how many page views are coming from the flow codes, and then how many contacts are being collected. So this can be really powerful for doing conversion analytics and making sure you're optimizing ROI.
Exactly. And for those who aren't aware of that as well, Flowpage allows you to have a contact collection widget, which is just a great way to generate those leads and again, calculate those conversions, see the page views, see how many people are actually engaging and submitting their information. And you can see that very easily here in this view, and then also export it for that data. Going back into Flowcode as well, just so we can see a holistic map view. With Enterprise, you have access to all of this. And again, that geolocation data, which is really great for attributing your marketing campaigns. Again, you can scroll in and actually see at the zip code level where these scans are coming from. And then you're able to see even on a more granular level as you keep scrolling in. So you can see our office is based here in Soho, New York, which is where majority of those scans are coming from. We do a lot of testing here, which is very important when it comes to campaigns and iterating on all of those, making it better, improving upon them. So really important, but it does break it down by device enabled and IP address enabled, which just shows you the differentiation between someone who's opting in and allowing that more precise data point. And then if you keep scrolling, you'll also just get a high level overview of those cities, where those scans are coming from, the traffic, and again, when people are most engaging. So what days of the week it's most happening, and then what hours of the day. This is, again, really helpful if you're looking at events, when people are most scanning your codes, when people are most coming to your store, or again, engaging with your marketing materials, because you're able to say, all right, clearly something's working, and then really optimize in your future marketing campaigns. We'll now go into reports. So reports breaks things down into, again, Flowcode and Flowpage. You can get that analysis, or you can even download the raw events. We'll go into the analysis just so you can see that overview, and I already have this loaded. So again, this is where you're able to schedule that delivery. So if you wanted to have this emailed to you and your team every Monday, let's say, so that you know that you can report on it, you can schedule that delivery, choose the name of it, the occurrence, however frequently you want it, the destination. You could add multiple email addresses here, and then choose the format in which you want to receive it. We have PDF, CSV, and even a PNG visual. And then you're able to also look at the scans. It breaks it down by, again, that week over week and month over month attribution and engagement. It shows the scans versus the unique scans. Unique scans are essentially that one person who might be scanning it twice, and that attributes to the total number. So unique is on an individual level. Scans are just total overall. Again, you can see that trending line over time, breaks it down by day of the week, hour of the day, scans by code, so you can see your most engaged code, where those codes are, or who owns those codes. And again, this gives you a visual of the people in your organization who have shared codes with you, so you can see that information. Scans by folder. So again, if you have a campaign folder and you want to analyze campaigns, you can do that here. Increases or even decreases, so you're able to see that change over time. And then again, tags, to Brendan's point, which are a great way to keep track of those campaigns. Customer attributes, and then re-engagement, which is a great insight to see if customers and your audience members are coming back and re-engaging with your code. We have a client today who really works on that re-engagement rate and wants people to be, again, coming back to their flow pages, their flow codes. So they try and update the back end to say, all right, we have a new recipe for you. We have some new content for you. So really trying to keep hold of that customer and not lose them, which again is a great segue into that flow page contact collection as well. And then this also gives you that location analysis. Flowcation is a great name for it. I just came up with one. But that's kind of it for the Flowcode real-time reporting versus the reports. I know that we're doing some shifting from the reporting capabilities to our real-time capabilities, which is coming up in the next few months and very exciting.
Yeah, so if you're already logged into the platform, you might be seeing some of the charts Corinne showed on the reports page. They're being added to real-time analytics. We're moving to push everything into real time. So, but yeah.
Very cool. And I will share my screen again to continue with the presentation. But moving into leveraging data, and I will pass it over to Brendan just to talk a little bit about how you can set yourself up for success when using Flowcode in a campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for walking through the platform.
Of course.
It was a good walkthrough. A question we get a lot is how should I go about running my first Flowcode campaign? And having seen hundreds to almost probably thousands of campaigns being executed now, we've distilled some of the major points into a slide here. So depending, and so Flowcodes can be used for any sort of like industry use case. It can be used to drive sales. It can be used to drive leads. But what's really important is preparation at the beginning. So identifying what your campaign type is. Are you going to be putting your codes on billboards, posters? Are you going to be mailing them to consumers? Are you going to be putting it on TV? If so, you might want to go for a TV optimized code via our Flowcode TV tool. Once you understand where you're going to be attacking your consumers or targeting, you want to understand your goals. So am I trying to drive leads? Am I trying to drive sales for a certain product? Bookings, if I'm running a personal practice. The next step is to make sure that you have a landing page. So this could be your own website or one that you've created either through our Flow page product that is designed to optimize those conversions. So super clean, mobile friendly. As you know, people are going to be scanning QR codes on their phone. So you want to make sure that mobile landing page, that landing page is mobile optimized. 4 is making sure that you're tracking the conversion on that landing page. So we have a lot of customers who have a really nice landing page, but aren't tracking the conversions they're getting. And so that can be done in a few ways. You can either do it first party via Flow page. You could use our Flowcode Pixel, which can be dropped and will pick up any conversions post scan. And then we have customers who are using UTMs and Google Analytics to analyze conversions in their own sources. 5th, so the next step is once you have your conversion goal set and a place to track conversions, you're going to want to create your campaign in the platform by creating a new folder with your campaign name. And so I'd make this super specific so you know exactly what campaign you're running. And then any flow code or flow page that's involved in the campaign, I would add into that folder so that everything's tracked in one place. To make sure that the downstream data is being captured appropriately, you would want to then make sure that your UTMs are set up. So as we briefly touched on earlier, UTMs are a way for you to track where and why traffic is coming to your site. I won't get into it on this call, but maybe we can send out some 101 docs that are just go over what a UTM is. But once you set those up, you're going to want to make sure that your flow codes are created to measure exactly, to make sure that you're measuring every single touch point appropriately. So if you use one flow code across 3 different channels, so TV, direct mail, and out of home, you won't be able to understand the engagement across by channel. So what you'd want to do is create a different flow code for each touch point. So one for TV, one for direct mail, etc.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brendan. Also, just even if you have one event happening, having different codes at different parts of the event, so you understand again where that engagement is coming from. And for people just a little bit more on UTMs, is it's essentially just a URL. So that's where you would input the scan destination and just copy and paste that UTM right into it.
Absolutely, yep. And so that URL we have in here is a link to a UTM builder that will that can help with
yeah, and we can send that in the follow-up as well.
And so once you're set up, then your campaign will begin. And so once your campaign begins, you're going to want to continually check Flowcode analytics to ensure that one, you're getting the engagement you're expecting, and then you're monitoring the conversion rate to make any sort of mid-flight campaign changes. So we send daily analytics emails and weekly that summarize performance. So I would be making sure that you're staying up on those, you're logging into the platform and looking for anything that is noteworthy in terms of low or high activity. And then once the campaign's complete, we would recommend that you look at campaign versus campaign. So using those folders, the folder filtering that you saw before, you can actually quickly flip between different campaigns to understand what was the engagement for my winter campaign versus my spring, and what were the different ROIs for each. And then the cycle starts again. You take the insights that you learned from campaign 1 and continue to test and optimize and figure out the optimal way to target consumers.
Great. Very helpful, Brendan. I think that this is really great insights is to how to start at the beginning and make sure that you're getting the most out of it from the start. Because sometimes people just put QR codes on things and aren't sure how to track that because they haven't set it up properly. So following these steps is really crucial. If you have a client success manager, CSM, that you're working with, definitely reach out to them if you're setting up campaigns and have any questions. But this is a great starting point. And I see that we have a question already. So someone asked, what do you recommend for a TV flow code that isn't getting engagement or scans? First, I would ask you, how long is the code up for? We recommend at least 15 seconds because if you think about the amount of time it takes someone to take their phone out of their pocket, open up their camera, and then scan it, it definitely takes a decent amount of time. So first, timing is a huge point. Second is placement. So where is the code placed? How big is it on the screen? In our TV tool, we actually have a calculator.
Scannability calculator.
Yes, scannability calculator, where you can say, all right, this is how big we think the TVs are going to be, how far someone needs to be from the TV for it to be scannable. So it really gives you some insights as to how big the code should be. And then also having a clear call to action, not having the code just sit by itself and not having someone on screen say, scan the flow code, or having any text saying scan to enter this giveaway, scan for a free t-shirt, things like that to let someone know why they should be scanning it could have a huge impact. We've seen those CTAs have 2 to 3 times the engagement. So definitely very important. All those 3 things are definitely.
And I think if you're getting 0 scans, that could be something the code is not scannable or it's not being shown. So I would step 0 and ensure that it's getting shown when you're expecting and that it's scannable. And then if you're afforded the ability to test, I would put a very, very high engagement CTA and conversion event, and just ensure that the audience is engaged, just to understand the top level and bottom level of engagement. sometimes that can be a good way to test and understand exactly how engaged the audience is during that spot time.
Exactly.
But if there's other questions about setting up campaigns, analyzing performance or best practices when it comes to analytics, feel free to drop it in the chat for follow-up.
And going back to the last question, I know Brendan mentioned it very briefly, but we do have TV and screen optimized codes just to make the data points a little bit more easily read by phones. So you can do those right in platform, or when you're requesting your code, just make sure you hit the TV or media button so that we can make the eyes a little bit bigger in those data points as well. Got another question. Are there average benchmarks you can point to for campaigns, or any resources we can refer to for different campaign expected CTRs?
Yes. So for conversion rates, we see at least a minimum of about a 15% conversion rate for from purchases to lead form submissions. We actually see for giveaways and sweepstakes up to 80% conversion rates. We are working on a benchmark report for later this year that we can then share out. But we would say that I would say anything you're going to get a minimum probably about 15% conversion rate as a scan is super high intent. Whereas you'll see for like Google, Facebook, I think the average is around 4% conversion rate. But the standard we see is 15% for purchases, up to 80 to 90% for giveaways or free or like anything to obtain like a $50 off gift card, etc.
Yeah, and remember that people who are scanning codes or clicking on those flow pages have very high intent. No one does that by accident, so their intent is really there, and they want to engage with your codes out in the wild or wherever they're seeing them. And it does vary across verticals or industries. So someone in retail who's not broadcasting to thousands of people is going to have very different data than each other. So just want to keep that in mind. But to Brendan's point, we are working on those benchmarks to share externally. If you ever have any questions, I know that a lot of people on the enterprise plan have their dedicated client success managers. So you can always ask them to help you analyze the reporting, and any questions on best practices, implementation to make sure you're doing it right. Don't hesitate to reach out. And we'll give it another minute or two for any other lingering questions. But we will be following up with resources on UTMs. And again, we can include this checklist as well, the one that Brendan went over for setting up campaigns. So you have that in the follow-up and the recording of this as well. You also have access to our support line, and they can loop in Brendan or I if you call us out specifically.
Yes, please send in any questions, or if you have any cool campaign results or interesting ideas or things that you've seen. We're super interested and always looking to improve.
Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We hope you found it helpful. But again, we will be following up by the end of the day, if not tomorrow. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.